Welcome to A Moment of Xen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Xen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, politics, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Xen Sams.
Welcome to the show, my beautiful friends. I'm your host, Xen Sams, and I'm very excited for this week's guests. The lineup is star-studded. Please make sure to follow me on social media at Xen Sams. That's Xen with an X. Now, on today's show, we have Ben Higgins from ABC's 20th season of The Bachelor. We're going to chat charities, how he and I are both proud ambassadors to orphanmyth.org, life in the fast lane, the importance of giving back, and his next chapter. We also have Philadelphia's very own Anthony Gargano from 97.5, The Fanatic. He is one of radio's most well-respected and opinionated sportscasters out there. He's going to help me cover and make sense of the latest headlines in sports involving mental health disorder and domestic violence. We also have Good Things Come in Small Packages segment, where I feature one child of exceptional talent. Now, Julia Roome is going to come on, and she's going to sing Amazing Grace right here on the air, live a cappella. I'm so excited about this interview, especially after I have been media training Julia for almost 1 year now. But before I bring on WABC's very own Frank Morano, where we'll be chatting UFOs and Atlantic City, I just want to touch on some very uplifting facts about Atlantic City. Now, last week, the state reported that the casino's gross operating profit soared in the first quarter of this year to more than 95 million, which is triple what it was during the first quarter of 2020. So I'm assuming that there is enormous lockdown fatigue and accumulated savings, and that stimulus money in households is waiting to be spent this summer in Atlantic City. Now, interestingly enough, outdoor dining was such a smash during the pandemic that Harrah's Resort decided to make it a permanent weather feature as part of a 3-year, $400 million plan to upgrade that casino. And not far away, we have Ocean Casino Resort, which is spending $15 million, adding 250 new slot machines, giving $1 million in bonuses and pay raises to employees, and donating $50,000 to local charities. Meanwhile, there's a 5-year, $90 million renovations investment plan at Bally's that's taking place. And you also have the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino upgrading its technology with a $20 million investment. So all this to say, for an industry devastated by more than a year of pandemic restrictions, Atlantic City casinos have definitely placed big bets on a rebound. The Casino Reinvestment Development Authority spent $4.7 million on renovating all bathrooms on the boardwalk, and that's really important to us moms. And they're funding an additional 45 police officers this summer to patrol the tourism district. Also very important to us moms. Now, the agency is looking to bring more non-gaming attractions to the city, such as outdoor concerts. And I'm going to be headed there this summer without a doubt, directly to Ocean Casino Resort, where all the happening fun is taking place. Ovation Hall is one of my favorite concert halls. The Summer of Love concert series at Ovation Hall begins July 9th, so that's exciting. They also have a great spa. Exhale Spa and Bathhouse was voted #1 spa in New Jersey by Spas of America. So that's a lot of exciting stuff for Atlantic City this summer. Now, stay tuned for my next guest because it's about to get supernatural and super fun. Frank Morano and I are going to be chatting UFOs and what his summer plans are. We'll be right back after this with more on A Moment of Xen.
If you've missed out dining in New York City for the past year, it's time to visit the legendary Biche Cucina. Located in the heart of Midtown, Biche specializes in blending delicious Northern Italian and American cuisine with dishes such as the incredible taglione lobster, ravioli masala, ossobuco, and pappardelle al telefono, along with many other mouthwatering offerings. You deserve a great night out. Call Biche Cucina, 212-757-2600 or online at bichecucina.com.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Xen Sams. You're listening to A Moment of Xen on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. Now, coming up is WABC's very own Frank Morano. He anchors down the other side of midnight from 1 to 5 a.m., and I'm a huge Frank fan. I usually sit back with a glass of wine, relax, and let Frank do all the talking. He and I are really good friends, and we do share common interest and curiosity for paranormal activity and Atlantic City. Now we're going to chat UFOs and summer plans in just a moment, and it's going to be a very timely conversation, especially with the increase in UFO sightings and much talk about these flying saucers. Now, if these shapes in the sky have a position on abortion, gun rights, or Mitch McConnell, they haven't yet made them known. And until they do, I believe their relevance to the news cycle is just going to remain limited. Now, the narrow matter, because it's just that, narrow, of whether UFOs represent a national security risk is worth investigating, but it hardly exhausts what we really need to know. Now, a world in which most curiosity regarding UFOs is snickered at, while the military monopolizes serious research, is one with its priorities definitely out of balance, in my opinion. Now, next month, the Pentagon is going to deliver to Congress a long-awaited report on its research into what the military calls unidentified aerial phenomena, but the rest of the world calls UFOs. Now, it's important to note that ever since the New York Times reported the existence of a 22 million, that's right, 22 million Pentagon program dedicated to studying these reported sightings of UFOs, along with startling videos that they're showing, a steady stream of leaks have followed. Senators from Harry Reid to Marco Rubio have weighed in, demanding the issue be now taken seriously. So even Barack Obama has said that for years the government has been seeing flying objects that we can't explain. Now, Frank, not just any radio host, he's also a lifelong New Yorker with an encyclopedic knowledge of local politics, an excessive passion for cheese, Star Trek, and UFOs. Frank's show often has discussions about the supernatural, so I'm going to pick his brains about that. And he's also one of the creators of this very show, A Moment of Xen. He's always supported and advocated for my favor, and well, here you have it. Welcome to the show, Frank.
Hello, Xen. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm a big fan, not only of you, but certainly of WOR in general. I'm so pleased to see all the success that you've had with this show already. I'm thrilled at its growth in such a short amount of time, and I am really looking forward to chatting with you.
Well, a big thanks to you for pushing for this show's success. I do owe a lot of it to you, and you were so incredible with even coming up with the name and the concept.
Well, you're so kind to say that. I've helped a lot of people over the years, and it's so funny. You probably have a greater appreciation for this than most, given your work in Hollywood and entertainment and modeling and in the business community. But you help out a lot of people, and as soon as they achieve a certain level of success, they kind of forget about you and don't have any appreciation for the role that you played in the growth of XYZ project. You've always been so generous in terms of recognizing my contributions to the growth of this particular show. So I appreciate you mentioning that.
Well, this show is kicking off an incredible episode because the Ocean Casino Resort is one of our sponsors. And I definitely think I want to turn them on to you because you are a huge advocate for Atlantic City. And we're going to talk about our summer plans. And we really should definitely go down there together and do some kind of
sounds wonderful.
And do some kind of sports book treat for them. But let's go back to the UFO. So according to one poll, Frank, 2/3 of Americans believe that there's intelligent life on other planets. And then we have 56% that believe that we have already made contact with them or will within 100 years. I thought that was weird. And over half believe that UFOs might be alien spacecraft. Now, you're very well versed on this topic. Not only are you knowledgeable on this matter, but on your show, The Other Side of Midnight, that you host on WABC, you have an array of specialists that have come on covering this. What's the most interesting fact that you have learned from one of the many specialists that you have had on discussing UFOs?
It's such a great question. Well, I think we're sort of at a pivotal moment in the UFO disclosure movement. You mentioned that Pentagon report that's coming out this month. That's pretty significant. However, the reason I think this is a pretty important moment in history, quite frankly, is that we've gone from seeing people that like to discuss and analyze UFOs being sort of marginalized as fringe characters, which you alluded to in your introduction, to now slowly becoming mainstream. You alluded to the front page story in the New York Times, December of 2017, in which they focused on, one, the fact that our government had a secret UAP or UFO program that they'd been funding for years, but they also had these videos of these naval pilots confronting these tic-tac shaped objects. Since then, over the last 4 years, we've seen UFOs be something that's limited to being covered in supermarket tabloids and coast to coast and radio shows like mine, to now being covered in mainstream media outlets like 60 Minutes, The Washington Post, CBS Sunday Morning. The list goes on and on. But more important than that is the Pentagon has now been forced to acknowledge the authenticity of several of these videos. It's not just the USS Nimitz video, which was highlighted in that New York Times piece, but other videos where you see these glowing green pyramid-like orbs in the sky. The Pentagon has confirmed those have been authentic. Just a couple of weeks ago, we saw this infrared video of these objects that these military folks can't explain how they maneuver. So I think the fact that mainstream media is now covering this and taking it seriously for the first time, coupled with the fact that the Pentagon is acknowledging the authenticity of these videos, it's moving this from being a fringe conversation to a mainstream conversation. And you're so funny that when you talk about if they don't have a position on some hot button political issue, that a lot of folks just won't care. I think you're right to some extent, but maybe this is the one thing that can bring Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and liberals together in the hopes of finding out what does the government know and when did they know it.
Absolutely. This used to be a career-ending kind of thing. You didn't want to get caught, talking about this because you'd be accused of, walking out of some kind of X-File episode. And last year we had former CIA Director John Brennan appearing on a podcast hosted by George Mason University. Professor Tyler Cohen said it was a bit presumptuous and arrogant for us to basically believe that there's no other form of life anywhere in the entire universe. Coupled with last month, former CIA Director James Woolsey said in an interview with the Black Vault, a website that basically collects paranormal sightings, that he wasn't as skeptical as he was a few years ago.
And add to that list, former Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe, and a guy that's been very vocal about this, former Senator Harry Reid. Now, Harry Reid actually says that he believes defense contractors like Lockheed Martin might be in possession of alien technology or alien spacecraft and using that to reverse engineer things that they're manufacturing on this earth. And Harry Reid has pointed out in interviews that, look, he was elected time and time again, in spite of the fact that he was very, very vocal about the exploration of the UFO issue. So he's pointed out that talking about this stuff doesn't necessarily hurt you politically. You're seeing the same thing from Senator Marco Rubio of Florida, who's actually the fellow that got this in to this COVID stimulus bill, this Pentagon report, and other people like Senator Mark Warner. So I think any politician in America who thinks this is a political death sentence is really short-sighted and ignoring the example of folks like Harry Reid.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have things like Area 51. That's been a long topic of fascination for conspiracy theorists and paranormal enthusiasts who believe it to be the location where the U.S. government stores and hides alien bodies and UFOs. And I was reading that one popular UFO conspiracy is that the 1947 in Roswell, New Mexico remains from the flying saucer that supposedly crashed were brought to Area 51 for a reverse engineering experiment in order to replicate that extraterrestrial spacecraft. So for decades, Americans were told that Area 51 didn't really exist and that the U.S. government had no official interest in aliens or UFOs. What are we to make of 70 years of bizarre stories centered on a secret government base an hour's drive from Las Vegas Strip now that all of this expose is coming out? This is kind of a very sensitive topic, but obviously there's more to it than meets the eye, and people need to just wake up to it. That's what I'm going to say. But Frank, thank you for your insight on that. I'm going to shift to Atlantic City now. Because that's where I plan on being this summer. How about yourself?
Oh, same here. I am counting down the days until my my next trip. To me, look, I'll always be a lifelong New Yorker. I can't imagine living anywhere else. But Atlantic City is my home away from home. It's the only community in America which combines so many different five-star leisure activities. Now, you talk gambling, a lot of places have gambling. You talk nightlife, a lot of places have nightlife. You talk restaurants, a lot of places have restaurants. But if you combine the gambling, restaurants, nightlife, the beach, and the best boardwalk and the biggest boardwalk in the world. And then you throw in some of the most interesting, eccentric, and fun characters that we've ever seen in any corner of the world. And that is the mix and match. That's the magic potion that is Atlantic City. There's no community like it in America. It's a phenomenal place to hang out. I can't wait to get back there. I wish I was there more often.
Well, there you have it, guys. I don't even have to do any more endorsement here for Atlantic City, because Frank Morano just literally took charge here and said everything I was thinking, from the boardwalk to Lucy, the Margate elephant, a beachfront mascot that was constructed in, guys, 1881. Definitely go check it out. Alexa is in love with this elephant. She thinks it talks to her. The Steel Pier. The Steel Pier is great. Gambling at the Ocean Casino Resort. That's where I'm going to be. The Comedy Stop. You definitely have to check out the Comedy Stop.
And you step out of that ocean onto the boardwalk and make a slight right, and what do you have? You have axe throwing. You go in the other direction, you have an aquarium. Where else in the world can you go walking distance from axe throwing to the aquarium? Not very many places. The ocean is a great place. It's a great place to gamble. I'm a craps player, and a lot of the casinos now will not pay you proper odds on craps. They don't even give you up to 5 times craps odds. The ocean still has a craps table that will pay you up to 10 times craps odds. So it's a fun place to gamble. In terms of dining, I don't think there's a better steakhouse in America than American
Cut. Yeah.
And for brunch, you want to talk a terrific brunch place, Harper's, which is some of the best French toast in the world. And it's good because they give you those little tiny jars of real maple syrup, not some phony stuff that they send you in most diners. It's a great place. Ocean is a beautiful property. It's one of the most magnificent I've ever seen.
Okay, well, it's a date. You and me and Rachel and Brad, we're all going to take a road trip with not just us, but we're going to bring all of our closest friends, and we're definitely going to do a weekend trip there with all the summer activities coming up and the performances that they have lined up in Ovation Hall. They have a summer festival coming up. I think there's going to be lots to do in Atlantic City. But guys, listen, you have to check out Frank Morano's show, The Other Side of Midnight, on WABC, 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. He is the man. He definitely is going to keep you awake if you have nothing to do. And if you want to get the latest scoop on all the politics, entertainment, he has always amazing guests lined up. And I'm a huge fan. Frank, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Xen. And if people do want to follow my Twitter at Frank Morano, it's Frank Morano. I tweet a lot about Atlantic City and a lot about extraterrestrial activity and UAP and UFO activity. So hopefully I'll see you on the radio and certainly on the Twitter sphere.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Frank. You're listening to A Moment of Xen. I'm your host, Xen Sams, on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Xen is brought to you by Romulus Entertainment. Make sure you check out their newest release, Georgetown, a political thriller about an eccentric Washington, D.C. social climber who is investigated after his wealthy, well-connected, and much older wife turns up dead in their home. Starring Academy Award winners Christopher Waltz and Vanessa Redgrave, along with Annette Bening.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Xen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Xen Sams. Now I want to talk about an organization that I am a proud ambassador to called Orphan Myth. And to help you understand, here are some myths regarding orphans. Kids in orphanages have no parents or family. Actually, children are often separated from their families because of poverty. An estimated 80% of children in orphanages have at least one living parent. With the right support, many could be reunited with their families. Myth number 2, there are no orphans in the US. Actually, there are over 420,000 children in the United States foster care system. The majority of them need a loving foster family while they wait to return to their biological families. 100,000 children will never be able to return home and are waiting to be adopted. So a big shout out to the incredible ladies that run orphanmyth.org, Avery, Melissa, and Lindsay. Big hat off to you girls. Now, Orphan Myth recently completed the 100% participation campaign, and it was a 2-week campaign supported by 45 of their founding nonprofit partner organizations and 30 celebrity ambassadors that focused on the collective commitment to one big idea, that it will take 100% of us to get 100% of children into a safe and loving family. And through this campaign, Orphan Myth aimed to increase public awareness, mobilize supporters, and gather resources, which they did, both globally and in the United States. Now, coming on in a few to help me address this is fellow Orphan Myth ambassador Ben Higgins. Now, you've probably seen him on ABC's The Bachelor, but Ben Higgins is no longer a bachelor. He first appeared on the 11th season of The Bachelorette, then got his own season 20 of The Bachelor, and eventually even a spin-off. But when he's not a TV personality, he's working on his Denver-based roasted coffee business, Generous Coffee. And the cool thing about the coffee is that they give 100% of their profits back to nonprofit organizations. Check them out, generouscoffee.com. Welcome to the show, Ben.
I am pumped to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This is such an incredible combination. Coffee, The Bachelor, and children. It's a highlight.
That's right. For some, it may be. For me, it has been. This has been a really cool partnership for me and one I'm really proud of.
Why don't we tell a little bit, the audience a little bit about the true foundations of Orphan Myth and why it means so much to you and why you got involved, and then I'll, of course, share my story.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I came across Orphan Myth even within this last year. A friend of mine kind of pointed me towards it and said, hey, do you realize the injustices that are out there that are facing kids around the world? And I said, I think so, but I don't know for sure. And so they pointed me to Orphan Myth, and through that, I became educated on the myths that you were just talking about, but also some of the solutions that are available. And I said, hey, I want to be part. Like, I want to be a part of the solution here. I think I can use my platform to do that. And so as a result, we kind of jumped in head first.
That's an incredible liaison in terms of you have a platform, you have a lot of followers, you want to do, you want to use your star power to, of course, contribute to our future. And what better way to do that than with these children? That's the reason why, of course, I wanted to get involved as a mom, to look at some of the facts and some of the myths surrounding orphans, and to really, truly come to grips with the reality that these kids have no voice. They belong to the state. If not, they've been taken away from their families and homes for whatever reason or the other. And so giving a voice to children that don't have a voice, that are on the brink of probably never being able to get adopted. Because when I was talking to one of the lovely girls that heads Orphan Myth, I think it was Melissa on our first phone call, she said that after 8 years old, it's almost impossible for a child to get adopted, even foster for that matter. What's your take on this? And do you feel that given the situation of where we are right now in society with the pandemic, with the way that people have lost their jobs and people struggling, do you think that this is going to affect children even more?
I do. I would say that so many things that have happened within the last year will affect children, will affect all of us in ways maybe we can understand and maybe ways we can't. What I do know, though, is that the pandemic has caused everybody to slow down. And in the midst of this slowing down, we've had the ability to listen to these injustices that we're speaking about and that we're hearing about all the time now. And so they're being brought to the surface, and then we're now able to respond in ways that we can help. When it comes to the kids around the world that are in the foster care system, I'm hoping that the slowness of the last year allows people now to say, and we did it with the 100% participation campaign, will kind of get people to the place of asking, how can I help? And that can be a donation, that can be an adoption of a child, that can be advocacy. But now we have the responsibility to help, and I hope people do that.
Absolutely. Everyone should definitely check out this organization. Help, get involved. There's a couple of incredible partners. Check out orphanmyth.org, and you guys can go to the website, look at the way that it works, and donate. And like Ben said, you can even create backpacks, any amount you want, and send it off to children in foster care. One of the things that I know one of the boys was telling us is that the biggest embarrassment was that he would go from group home to group home with a trash bag. He didn't have his own backpack. And so that for me as a mother, I heard that story and I was like, well, again, how can I help? So eagerly jumped on board. Definitely want to be featuring foster children even on the show when we can. Sometimes there's legalities, so we have to wait till they're 18. But the system doesn't make it easy for these children to be adopted. So people like yourself, people like myself, other ambassadors that are really, that this organization doesn't just mean what you're doing to help in general. It's what you're doing to help our future, the children of our future. So it's a huge thing. And now this is just one side of you, Ben. You're also a writer. I'm aware that you have a new book that's out called Alone in Plain Sight, which launched this February. It's searching for a connection when you've seen but not known. Is that right?
Hear my story, but mostly the story of others. And if they're in the midst of addiction or in the midst of loneliness or they're in the midst of a breakup or in the midst of singleness or whatever it may be that life is putting on them at the point that they would feel less alone because other people are in it too. If somebody's out there who feels like, hey, I don't understand why I feel so disconnected from the world. Well, this book, I think, will give you not only some stories that will help you relate with others, but also hopefully some tools that will help you get reconnected with the things that you care about and the things that are vital as humans to connect with. And so I'm really proud of this book. I'm really excited about this book. And through, like campaigns like Orphan Myth, I learned a lot of lessons in life that I implemented into this book, especially when it comes to how we speak about injustice, how we confront injustice, and then what's our role as humans in participating into healing and not hurting of people.
I love it. I could hear you speak all day. Keep going.
Yeah, thank you, Zen.
You're on a right path there. Well, it's more about touching people. And like you said, we're all here for a finite amount of time. There must be a bigger picture. It's not, we're not just put on this earth for self-indulgent reasons and to, feed ourselves. We actually, it's quite the opposite. I think we have to leave a legacy. Our voices need to be heard. We need to help one another more than divide. And I think with this, with the political climate and with the COVID climate, I think there's been so much divisiveness and so much aloneness that your book, Alone in Plain Sight, is something that everybody is going to be able to relate to. I know even I would, and I have so many people around me all the time, but as a mom, as a wife, as an actor, as a radio personality, sometimes I'm overwhelmed and I feel alone too. And listen, we all have something that we've battled, whether it's addiction, whether it's depression, mental health disorders are on the rise. So I think your book is very fitting. Now, here's to make things a little bit lighter. We don't want to go down this a sad story here all the time. I want to make light of something pretty fun. So the most Googled celebrity breakup was Ben and Lauren. Now, that is crazy to me, but how did you, it's craziness, right? So we have about 2.5 minutes left in the segment. Really quickly, how did that come about to the point where it was the most Googled celebrity breakup?
People love The Bachelor. So many people watch this show and they become so invested into the relationships that come from the show. And that makes sense. It's a very supportive show with a fan base that is loyal. And so I think when a breakup ends unexpectedly for some, maybe people are interested in why. And so, not exactly like the award that I thought I was going to be getting or that I'd hoped to be getting in my life, but it is one that happened, the most Google breakup of that year. And I think you can credit that to the fan base that is very involved.
That's great. I love that fan base because that's the voice and that's a platform. And the power that you have, my friend, is great because you are a great example of being able to use your star power, and not just for selfish reasons, but even going back to the cafe that you own, Generous Coffee. Yeah. Apparently you give back 100% of the proceeds.
Yeah. So myself and three other guys founded this company called Generous International. And we were lucky enough to be at a place in life where we said, okay, we're going to give away the value of the company and the margin on each product. And so we donate 100% of our profits to nonprofits. We sell coffee online at generouscoffee.com, but we also have a cafe here in Golden, Colorado, and we're going to start expanding now that COVID's lifted and we can start making more coffee shops around the country. The whole hope is that people are going to drink coffee anyways. Why not make it life-changing coffee, and why not drink good coffee that gives back?
I agree 100%. Coffee is the best. I can't live without it. It's part of my everyday life. Okay, so Ben, listen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank
Number
you.
one, highlighting orphanmyth.org, extremely important. Your book is out, Alone in Plain, is that right? Alone in Plain Sight?
That's right. Alone in Plain Sight.
Alone in Plain Sight, okay? And of course, Generous Coffee. That is a trilogy, my friend. You are on your way to karmic heaven because you are giving back to so much of yourself. And so I thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, this is Zen. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You're listening to A Moment of Zen. I'm your host, Xen Sams, right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
Looking for an escape at the beach? Look no further. The premier resort destination on the iconic Atlantic City Boardwalk, Ocean Casino Resort, has your answer. Experience the thrill of the casino floor. Place a winning bet at William Hill Sportsbook. Take a dip in Eclipse indoor-outdoor pool. Or take in the stunning views with a private poolside experience at the Cabanas. Treat yourself to a rejuvenating spa day at Exhale Spa and Bath House. Enjoy a delicious dinner at one of Ocean's dining options, whether it's fine dining you want or something casual. Book your escape today at theoceanac.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Xen Sams, and coming on in a few, we have Anthony Gargano. And Anthony is Philly's favorite everyman. He brings on the passion. You just definitely have to hear this man on the radio. And he's been part of Philadelphia sports radio for over 20 years. He delivers such knowledgeable content, charming at times, and he's really dedicated to Philadelphia sports fans. That's what I love about him. He's reigning as one of the biggest names in sports radio, and he brings big entertainment and sports news, not just once, not just twice, but every day from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. during the work week on Philly's The Fanatic. He's one of the most opinionated voices in the industry. Welcome to the show, Anthony. What an incredible opportunity to have you on.
Oh, Zen, I love you. Thank you so much. This is an honor. And I used to work in New York. I love New York. I worked for the New York Post for a long time as a writer. Came from Chicago. I went to New York. And when the Post had a Sunday newspaper, I used to write these 5,000-word think pieces. And I loved it. It was a great experience being in the city. Nothing like the city.
Nothing like the city. Now, listen, I'm going to pick your brain really quickly before we dive into some of the headliners that I want to really talk to you about because you're the guru here. But we have Clay Travis and Buck Sexton that are going to headline the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show in Limbaugh's old radio spot. What do you think of that?
I love it. I think it's really interesting to go that route with Clay. I work for Fox on the weekends. And look, Clay brings a lot of knowledge in that space. I think he's an actually really, really good choice. And it was always a part of how we viewed sports. So I think it's actually perfect. He's very good in the air, has some really strong opinions. And I think he'll do a great job with it.
And he's on Fox Sports Radio, right? And I heard he's selling his media company, Outkick, to Fox Corporation. That was a huge headliner.
Yeah. And I tell you, I always thought he took a unique spin in the world of sports. And I think that's where he should be. That's where he would want to be. So I think that space is actually perfect for him.
I agree. Well, we're 710 WR is one lucky radio station. Now, listen, there's some headliners here, and you're the guy. We're gonna really kind of dive deep in here. So we have Marcell Ozuna of the Atlanta Braves. He was granted a $20,000 bond on charges of aggravated assault by strangulation and battery against his wife recently. And a statement from the Sandy Springs Police Department said officers basically entered this guy's house. The front door was open. They heard screaming from inside. Officers said they saw him grab his wife by the neck and throw her against the wall, in addition to basically striking her with a cast from his injured left hand. Listen, it's important to note that Marcell, was a favorite. He was re-signed with Atlanta after what I heard was a great first season in the Braves. I don't know the stats, but I just don't think that this is even acceptable. What's your take on this?
No, it's completely unacceptable. Again, if I'm the general manager of that team, see ya. I want nothing to do with you. When we talk about violence against women, I need you to be a real a real man. I don't. The worst thing you can do is raise your hand to a woman. I'm a little old school this way, and I'll never forget my mother. We'd always talk about, you raise your hand to a woman, your hand will wither. It's reprehensible, and I know that my fan base would not want to root for someone like that. It's despicable. I got to tell you, it sickens me. And when we draw athletes, when they do things that are against our code as human beings, whether it's legal or sometimes whether it's illegal or sometimes it's not within the framework of the justice system, I'm sorry, it's a privilege to put on the uniform and represent a city and a fan base, and that kind of behavior has no part in it.
Without a doubt, going back to pick on someone your own size, I get it if it's between two men, but once you start to really look under the hood and you start to realize that this is coming from deep down aggression. Is it that these pro athletes, are they just a cross section of society that happens to get noticed more than your average wife beater in nowhere America? Or is there a larger subsection among the athlete population? Because sports by nature, especially the professional kind, are occupations heavily based on aggression, and whatever the particular sport is, it's one where you must be, driven, focused, ready to pounce on what you want and stop at nothing to get it, like kill or be killed, hit them before they hit you, or something to that effect. And pro athletes, I theorize, are used to getting what they want. They want to get the attention. They get the money to some extent. I believe there's a sense of entitlement. So what happens now? This is really setting up such poor mentorship to the kids that are watching them. It makes me furious.
Oh, it's awful. And listen, I do believe by and large it is a cross section of society, and that's where we see it. You bring up a great point about aggression, and there was a belief, especially among football players, that sort of violence was more prone in a sport like football, which is equally unacceptable, because we understand that that's a game that's played within a field of play. No matter how physical, no matter what it is, we understand that there is a time and a place for your aggression. And this sort of immaturity, you said it earlier, which is there is an entitlement that I think comes. And I think sometimes it's cultural, sometimes this violent streak, particularly against women, has to stop. We need to take a stand against it. That can't happen.
Thank you for saying that. And look, not only that, they should be identified and banned from ever returning. And when they return to the sport, it should be mandated that they receive some kind of less salary or something. Radical perhaps, but look, you have Floyd Mayweather. He pled guilty to domestic violence in 2010. You have Chad Ochocinco. He pled no contest to a charge of domestic violence in 2001. Dennis Rodman played no contest to domestic violence charges in LA in 2008. I could go on and on. Jim Brown was charged with domestic violence in 86, but yet all of these sports figures remain, the ideals that our kids look up to, and they still haven't been all necessarily canceled. Either way, I'd love to pick your brain more on this, but we also have another headliner that really hovers around mental health disorder, and that we know about 1 in 5, 20% of adults suffers from a diagnosable mental health illness given in a year. You have approximately, 123 Americans die by suicide. There's one every 12 minutes that this is happening. So we have a huge issue on our hands. With less than 2 minutes left, we have Naomi Osaka's shock decision to withdraw from the French Open, and it has sparked outrage over her treatment from the tennis officials. What's your take on this?
Well, it was interesting because when she first came out, she talked about how she would not speak to the media. And clearly, this is a larger issue than just her not speaking to the media. When she talked about mental health, and she's talked about it before, my heart goes out to her. I'm glad that she brings awareness to it. So whether it's because it's such a larger issue, and we're coming off a pandemic, and so many people are suffering from this kind of condition. So I applaud her for that. When it comes to just speaking to the media, it's part of your duty as being someone who is that big in the sport. It's almost part of your duty to do that for the sport and talk to the media. I've covered countless oodles of news conferences. They're really benign. So I think her issue is a lot deeper. And while my heart goes out to her because I want her to be happy, I want her to get the word out, I do believe it's part of the athlete's duty to speak to the media.
Without a doubt.
About social media, to be honest with you.
Without a doubt. We have less than a minute left, and I want to wrap it up here because we should just do a separate podcast between, women's interpretation of sports because you're right on it. But the truth is that she has suffered long bouts of depression since the U.S. Open in 2018, and she's had a really hard time coping with it. But I agree, she needs to address it. If she needs to withdraw, that's a different conversation. But she does have a responsibility to her athletes. Listen, Anthony, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. You are amazing. I can't wait to chat with you again.
Oh, we definitely will, Zen. You're fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. This is Xen Sams. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
Looking for an escape at the beach? Look no further. The premier resort destination on the iconic Atlantic City Boardwalk, Ocean Casino Resort, has your answer. Experience the thrill of the casino floor. Place a winning bet at William Hill Sportsbook. Take a dip in Eclipse Indoor-Outdoor Pool. Or take in the stunning views with a private poolside experience at the Cabanas. Treat yourself to a rejuvenating spa day at Exhale Spa and Bathhouse. Enjoy a delicious dinner at one of Ocean's dining options, whether it's fine dining you want or something casual. Book your escape today at theoceanac.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Xen Sams. Now, coming on in a few, we have Julia Roome. She's 11 years old. She's a recording she's a recording artist, an actress, a model, and an athlete. She just released her first original single called Steel Glass, and she was only 10 years old when she did that. That led her into her current recording contract and the anticipated completion of her first original album, which is scheduled to be released later this summer. Now, Julia is no stranger to the microphone. This is what she's been doing all her life, and I know this for a fact because I have personally taught media classes to this beautiful girl, and she just completed her latest audition for Sarah Silverman's The Bedwetter, which we hope opens again soon on Broadway. And we hope that Julia is going to be playing the young Sarah. So this is true. Sarah, if you're listening or watching, we have the next you right on. Now, Julia has her own old man rock band and can be seen locally performing at upstate New York venues, playing crowd favorites such as Rockin' Robin, I'll Be There For You, and this is one of my favorites, Mustang Sally. She's really good at that one. Recently, an East Coast regional theater company just cast Julia as Cruella in their up-and-coming production of Descendants and Belle and Beauty and the Beast. And both shows are expected to be selling tickets to a very packed, vaccinated crowd this summer. Now, when Julia isn't performing and playing some sort of sport or writing a song, she spends her time with her older brother and sister, who are twins, mom and dad, and the family pets. I'm surprised they're not barking in the background now. Julia, who also is an avid athlete, she's not just your average athlete. She does competitive skiing, and she is quite impressive. I'm going to let her tell you all about the group that she belongs to. I believe it's the NJSRA, and it's a smaller feeder group of the USA Olympic Ski and Snowboarding Racing Association and Olympic Ski Team. And the accomplishment places her arguably in the top 10 in the country for both the giant slalom and slalom ski racing events. So that's pretty impressive. But now she can tell you all about this herself. Welcome to the show, beautiful girl.
Hi.
Julia, you look beautiful as always. Where are you right now?
I am downstairs in my house.
But what area? You're in New York State?
Oh, I'm in Warwick, New York.
There you go. And what's the name of the school you go to?
Warwick Valley Middle School.
Road Valley Middle School?
Warwick Valley Middle.
Warwick Valley Middle School. Now, you have been practicing your whole life when it comes to sports, when it comes to your craft, singing, acting, modeling. I met you right at the beginning of the pandemic when there was no lockdown, and we were doing a photo shoot together with the kids establishment, and you did so good with those photos. And then you later on went on to get represented during the pandemic with Stewart Talent, which is a huge accomplishment because not many kids were able to even work during the pandemic, let alone you got representation. So that's major accomplishment in my books. And the one thing that I always remember about you is that when I follow you on social media, on Instagram, so you guys definitely have to check Julia out at Julia Roome, and she also has her YouTube channel at Julia Roome, and she's always singing. And you are not just singing with kids, you're singing with adults, like in bars, hanging out, and this is the coolest thing ever. So you are just one of those incredible little girls. Tell me what has inspired you to want to sing from such a young age?
Well, I mean, I've been singing since I was very little. And like my sister, I always like to give her credit for a little bit. And acting, when I did acting, she was the first one who wanted to do an acting camp. And then I was like, I want to do this. So then I started, and I just never stopped, and I kept singing from there. So
that's incredible. What are the favorite songs you like to sing? Like, do you sing in the shower? Do you sing in the house? What do you love to sing?
I love to sing Rockin' Robin just because I do the Michael Jackson version. So I do like a super high pitch, and I just think it's so much fun.
So that's one of your favorite songs. And are you going to sing for me today?
Yes.
What are you going to sing for me?
I'm going to sing Amazing Grace.
You're going to sing Amazing Grace. Now, before you sing Amazing Grace, I recently saw something on your Instagram page about a competition. Was it The Voice or America's Got Talent? Which one was it that you posted about?
America's Got Talent.
And did you audition for that?
Yes.
And did you hear back from them?
No.
You didn't? Oh, they're lost. Well, now they're going to hear you on this platform right here on 710 WOR, which is the voice of New York. You couldn't be on a better platform to sing your heart out, my darling. So I'm going to let you take it from here. And everybody, brace yourselves. Julia Roome is now performing Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieves. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace has brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. And grace will lead me home.
Yay, that was amazing. Oh, I have chills. Not only do I have chills, you almost made me well up and cry. I'm so proud of you. That was beautiful. Your voice is so special and so unique that if I was in the house listening to you, I would just stop and just get mesmerized, because you have the ability to move people with your voice, and that is so special. And having such a powerful voice at such a young age is something you should be so proud of, baby, because let me tell you, that is going to carry you forever and ever, because you are so passionate about this. And I heard every single word in that song, literally, I heard it all. I heard it. It touched my heart. So thank you for doing that. You just made my day.
Thank you.
Now, if you can give any piece of advice to other kids out there that want to sing, that want to dance, that want to be in entertainment or even sports, what would you say to them?
I would say never give up, because all you need is one creak in the door and then your whole placement can be open.
That's true. That's all you need is one moment and one shot to shine, and then it's a domino effect. And you're almost there. You're right there. I could feel it. You are a star, and you are on the rise. So, Julia, thank you so much for coming on the Moment of Xen. This was truly a wonderful experience. I'd love to have you on again and hear all about your accomplishments. And I'll check back in with you in a couple of months. In the meantime, congratulations. You did a great job today.
Thank you.
Guys, that was Julia Roome. You definitely should check her out on her YouTube channel at Julia Roome, or her Instagram page. That's where I follow her, at Julia Roome. And we'll be checking back in with her in a few months to see where she's at with all her auditions. You're listening to A Moment of Xen. I'm your host, Xen Sams, right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Xen is brought to you by Helen Yarmak, one of the world's most recognized fashion designers. Helen Yarmak International is pleased to announce it is the first luxury fashion house to offer a collection of non-fungible tokens, also known as NFTs. Just as every creation by Helen Yarmak is one of a kind, the creation of her NFTs will allow collectors a new way to own one of her unique and historic pieces. This marriage of fashion and technology is groundbreaking. To learn more, visit HelenYarmak.com.
What an incredible performance by Julia Roome. I literally have chills. She's such a special child. We are almost at the end of our date. Now I'm going to sign off with my fashion crypto tip of the week, brought to you by Helen Yarmak. And how fitting is this? So we're going to quickly chat NFTs, and you're going to start to hear this term thrown out there more often than not if you haven't already heard of them. They are otherwise known as non-fungible tokens, and they are all the rage. Will the crypto wealthy, who are mostly young and male, be really interested in luxury fashion NFTs? Now, an NFT makes a digital file, like a video or photo, unique. Think of it as a certificate of authenticity for digital files. Now, because digital files can be copied, they aren't really that special. But when you make the file into an NFT using blockchain verification, it then becomes unique and very exclusive. Ownership can be proven, so that's an added plus, and people are loving them. In a world where so much content is available for free, NFTs basically add a layer that gives this content value. But will the complexity of setting up cryptocurrency wallets be too much of a bother for luxury consumers? Well, that's yet to be determined. Now, the luxury fashion world has remained relatively quiet with respect to NFTs, but that's about to change. Fashion brands have been studying the wild, wacky world of blockchain and all its creative and business possibilities, and now they are poised to jump in. Gucci recently confirmed to Vogue Business that it's not only a matter of time before they will release an NFT, they're in the works. In addition, Vogue Business has confirmed that multiple industry sources are confirming that a number of luxury fashion houses are close to releasing their very own NFTs as well. So the question is just who will pull the trigger first? Well, luxury brands were behind on the e-commerce trend, so there's now more of a willingness to experiment with new technologies like blockchain. But Helen Yarmak is the first fashion house to enter the digital world. She's one of the very first, if not the first, fashion house to enter this market with an NFT inspired by her own one-of-a-kind unique jewelry line. Apparently, this is the first NFT ever offered by sale by a luxury fashion house, and it's Helen Yarmak's Paraiba Empress ring. It's a stunning one-of-a-kind masterpiece. At a staggering 158 carats, the Empress ring contains one of the largest Paraiba stones in the world, beautifully set among sparkling diamond and gold setting. And it's one of the rarest and most precious stones making it a perfect centerpiece for this historic NFT offering. Helen has also mentioned that the brand established a crypto as well as an NFT club and will be accepting various forms of crypto payment. So for more information, please visit HelenYarmak.com. Well, that's a wrap, my friends, and thank you for being loyal listeners. Many of you have already texted me the word collaborations, and I love it. Please keep those texts coming at 917-575-2321. And remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the Voice of New York, every Saturday night from 7 to 8 p.m. We're going to be shifting to a later slot very soon to 9 to 10 p.m. And you can watch fully uploaded episodes as of Monday morning. Remember to tune back in next Saturday. I have an amazing and exciting lineup of guests. Thank you all for listening to A Moment of Xen. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors, Romulus Entertainment, Vice Cucina, Helen Yarmak International, and Revere Securities. Till